That's a little excerpt from Rory Gallagher's solo in a song called I Fall Apart, which is a lot of Rory Gallagher fans' favourite song, and definitely their favourite guitar solo among you know, many amazing classic solos. Now, I thought really long and hard about this, not with a guitar in my hand, because, you know, Rory Gallagher to this day is still absolutely adored, you know, by his you know, legion of fans. He was probably in the first half dozen, you know, big name guitar players I ever saw live, and it was just earth shattering, you know, just how the energy, you know, just how great he was. And sometimes, you know, when you have a discussion about, you know, the way music's gone, you know, 15 people to write a song, you know, a song that is in no way live, you know, and all the pronouncements over the era, you know, like you know, somebody once said, well, you can have the singing or you can have the dancing, but you can't have both. You know, and Elton John famously said, how can you give a best live performer award to someone who mimes? You know? Good on Elton for saying that. Rory Gallagher was at the opposite end of the continuum. I mean, my memory may be wrong on this, but I remember him coming on and the house lights still been up. You know, he just like, he was playing in the living room, and he just bound on, you know, in the jeans and the denim shirt and tartan shirt. His AC30 was sitting on like a wooden kitchen stool. Propped against it was a Telecaster for slide, and he'd have the battered Stratocaster, and he'd, you know, plug it in himself, you know, into the amp, and then he'd launch into one of these things, you know. I don't know if you know, but on Live in Europe, there's an amazing bit where you hear Jerry McAvoy go. It's C to D right before this sort of electricity in the air, and Rory goes, you know, and then he does it, and he plays, you know, he just finds his bend. Right? Now, what I didn't really want to do is take bits of Rory's solo, Rory Gallagher solos, and say, here's a lick to make you sound like Rory Gallagher, you know, if you steal this lick. I'd rather say, here's a kind of approach. I think this is what he did. This is one of the approaches that he took. Now, if you watch a lot of YouTube, you'll see all the time, you know, like, so-and-so reacts to. Like, I'm not really interested in seeing, like, here's William the Conqueror, you know, reacting to Dan Huff. You know, I'm not really interested in seeing here's Marie Antoinette reacting to Tom Bukovac, you know. You know, play the stuff if you want, or talk about it, whatever, but I don't really like the kind of idea of riding on the coattails. Maybe I've got this completely wrong, and if it's entertaining, it's entertaining. If you like it, that's great. But I saw one of these things recently, and it wasn't actually Rory. I'm hoping this will be a sort of lesson in music. I'm going to angle this slightly, very hi-fi production here, so you can see both the bear and the guitar. And it was like a guitar teacher watching Carlos Santana, and he said now he's going into the Dorian mode. You know, if you don't, I'm sure you know what the Dorian mode is. You know? Dorian mode is that scale that goes, you know, and he said, oh yeah, now you know, he's just using the Dorian mode, and he kind of rolled his eyes and said, it's Dorian City, you know, like nobody, you can't reduce anybody to a scale they use, you know. You can't say, oh, Aldo Meola, all he did was, I mean, I've heard people say it about Yngwie, you know. All he did was a harmonic minor. No, there's no great guitar player in the history of guitar where you can say all he did was that. Everyone does much more than that, right? So saying that Rory Gallagher, you know, a big part. It's a part, but it's not a big part. But he did use that Dorian scale, but you know he had 101 more approaches than that. And as I say, the Dorian scale is that one. I'm sure you know. That's it. That's a Dorian scale. It's just got one note different from an Aeolian scale. That one, the C sharp, right? Now that scale allows you to play a figure on 2 strings. It allows you to go. Right? It's not particularly Rory-ish, but gets a bit more Rory-ish when you factor in the harmonics. So he's playing like off an E, like that, putting the harmonics. And that kind of stinging, you hear Rory do a lot. Obviously, you know, in something like Dr. Everly, you know, he's playing off a major scale, like over that kind of scale. In that one I played a minute ago, which is called Messing with the Kid, he's playing off a sort of pentatonic. The chromatic. And in that case he bends the tonic. Right? And then 2 verses down the line, everything goes very quiet. Olga Campbell and Jerry McAvoy take it down to nothing, and Rory starts playing. Right, now there he is playing a Dorian scale, but it's what he's playing that's defining him, not the scale, right? And he's playing the whole thing in these, you know, like very early on in what's going on, you could hear, you know, you could hear Rory alter the harmonic. You'd hear him go. You know, and he'd play a squealing harmonic, and just by moving, you know, alter the pitch. So, you know, there's also just the aggression, you know. Yeah, they play at the start of Continental Ops and stuff, and a lot of the Rory solos are stuck. You know, and he just launch into, you know, just full tilt boogie. So as I say, didn't want to really take bits from Rory solos and say, well, you know, if you go, you know, you'll sound like Rory, because you know, you won't. You'll just sound like a guy playing that stuff. If you take the Dorian one, doesn't sound like Rory, just sounds like a guy playing, you know, Dorian scale. But, you know, gets a bit closer. But on Live in Europe, song in C, there's a blues called I Wonder Who. And Rory plays just stuff in that affected me deeply. Now, if you can indulge me, I'll tell you a little story. I was listening to it, you know, when I was about 17 years old, and I, you know, and I knew, you know, I knew it was a blues, you know. And in the middle of it, Rory plays a stream of violin and notes that go. And I was like slaving over, what are these notes? you know, like as you do. And then I found that he's going, except obviously he's going. And I find this note, which is the note that makes it the Dorian scale, in C, which is an A. And I thought, well, can you do that? You know, because you know, I knew in a blues you could be. But can you play that note? And I suddenly had this. Well, he just played it and it sounded great, so I'm taking it that you can. And you know, if it sounds good, it's good. So in I Wonder Who, Rory plays that. At the end, the bit I believe blues guys call a turnaround, you know, the. You know, he plays that line, which is like major bass. And that C ninth chord, right? So that's one thing he did. In I Wonder Who, he's playing along like he did. You know, he could scat the solos. I mean, you know, Rory was, you know, just a legend, man. It's just fucking legend, right? But you hear him play I Wonder Who, and then go, you know, I Wonder Who. And do these hammer-ons and stuff. And then when it hits the C chord, I Wonder Who. And sometimes he would stop at the end of a bar. You know? Now, Rory, you know, like this, Rory didn't use a phenomenal amount of gain, if you like. I don't believe that you know, playing a high gain sound makes it easier. I actually think quite the reverse. But let's not go into that. But he's got a sound where you can clearly hear every note, but the notes are ringing together. And the way I would define it is, you know, it's not like fuzzy, it's rich. The sound is rich. Right? That's the way I describe it. Right? So as I say, when the song stops, or when the verse stops, you hear Rory go. And he's got that. You know, he's got that vibrato going, so he's rippling the string, then, and you know, this hand is you know, hitting the strings pretty hard. And there are lots of approaches in that song. You, at one point he does it, like I said. You know. With all the harmonics. It's often said, you know, that people call it a pinch harmonic, and you know, and they say they do it like that. I read, I think, in the dark mists of time, an interview in the Melody Maker, which was a music paper way back in the day. Rory Gallagher said he didn't do it like that. He laid the fingernail of his third finger on the string. Now that's what I've done all the time I've played guitar. So something that would go, would go. You know, but I'm sure I'm sure that will give you a squeaking harmonic. So, if you want a lick to sound like Rory Gallagher, in my opinion, if you use that approach, it's not the scale, it's the feel he had, it's the way he played. And there's no point really, you know, where he'll just stick to one scale. It's like he had, you know, one big scale, if you like, you know, the whole 12 notes. But if there's one bit that I think really, for me, defines Rory Gallagher's style, well, you know, there's hundreds of bits. I mean, it might be that bit I played at the start from I Wonder Who. You know, there's that glorious chord that he plays at the start of I should have learned my lesson, and just that stinging, you know, and he's got the vibrato going, right? But not a million miles away from that, still in C, is this one. And that's the start of I Wonder Who. So if you're going to play I Wonder Who, you need that bit, right? So first thing you hear and see is right? So it's kind of like a you know, there's the squeak note is the tonic, you know, but we're coming off a major, you know, G to A. And we're going major minor, like you'd expect it to go. Like in a blues phrase, but it doesn't. It's so G, A, C, D, a little sleazy bend, and then C, G, and then yeah, if you catch a really good harmonic, that's when you apply the vibrato. So we've got looking for one, and then you give it a shake, right? He then plays a, and then he mutes it, and we're into the whole I Wonder Who. Go to the 4 chord, and then as I say it ends in this glorious you know. So that's really my thinking on you know, one lick to make you sound like Rory Gallagher. If you play all of them and pop them in your playing, I think it'll get you closer. And if you get all the albums out and try and learn as many solos as you can, that's great. The records will last forever because they're absolute classic records. And he was the real deal. He just, you know, as I say, he ran on. It looked like the house lights were on, like he was playing in your living room. Played his guitar. I remember once Rory Gallagher said he didn't really like the idea of having a whole bunch of guitars on stands on the stage. He said, I don't want it to look like a music shop. And when he whipped off the battered Strat, he wouldn't just stand there and a roadie would run on and whip off the guitar. He would take off the Strat and he'd lean it against the AC30 that sat in the kitchen chair. And he'd pick up the Telecaster, you know, and you'd hear that. You know, it was all incredibly real. It was the absolute opposite of what we have today if you go and see a concert by, right? Rory was the opposite of that. He was the real deal, and his music will live forever.